Okay, so let's start on Daf Chavav and Beis on the bottom. We were in the middle of the sugi yesterday. We had to stop because of Baruch Hu. And I wasn't so happy with how he explained it anyway, so let's go back. We're talking on Chavav and Beis, and the Gemara says, Amar of Nachman HaChashn al Arayis Kasher Leidus. It's about 12 lines up from the bottom. Yeah? Amar of Nachman HaChashn al Arayis? Chashn al Arayis?
Yeah.
So Rav Nachman said, someone who's chashad for arayas, and the Rashi learns over here, it sounds like Rashi is saying that it's just on a malkin, a loiv tevashmua, that it's not that he actually was nichshel on arayas. We didn't see him being yachim with arayas, but there's rumors about him. Other Rishonim quote Rashi as saying that it's talking about a situation where they taka Mamish saw him do something wrong. But either way, he's chashed on arayis. Rav Nachman says.
Then it's not chashed. Chashed on the rice, you don't know. If it's actually
So they were saw him being miyachet. They didn't see him do anything. The other case would be just he's always dealing with women a lot, and he's always hanging around women. Women are hanging around him. That would be the Hashim Shad and Rashi. So Rav Nachman says that just because you're chashin on arayis, a person chashin on arayis doesn't mean he's kasher, he's pasaleidus, he's still kasher leidus. Amar Rav Sheshes asked the kasher to Rav Nachman. Animari, answer our master, Abban b'kasvei b'kasher, he's getting malchus, and you're telling me he's kasher? Fine, that was Rav Shesh's kasha on Rav Nachman. But some of the Mefarshim, some of the Rishonim say that the halacha is still like Rav Nachman. Some of them pass like Rav Nachman. And Rav Sheshes is a kasha. It's a kasha. He was wondering how you tachen, but it doesn't mean it wasn't what he didn't say that he didn't have a raya that Rav Nachman was not correct. So Lamaisa, they pass like Rav Nachman. Amar Rava says, even though Rav Nachman said he's kasher le'edos, kasher al rayis is kasher le'edos, moider Rav Nachman l'nyin edus isha shu pasal. Rav Nachman is moider l'gabi edus isha that he's pasal. That even though for money he'll be kasher, says Reuven knows Shimon money, we'll believe him. But if he says Shprinza is not married to Reuven, or Shprinza is married to Reuven, l'nyin edus isha, then shu pasal. Rav Nachman is moider that he's pasal. But Ravina says that it's going to be totally in this case. Amar Ravina v'tem Rav Papa. Ravina, some Rav Papa said, Lo yamar el lafuka. That's only if he's being made to be make somebody to say that a lady is divorced, right? Then he's saying that she's a free agent, she's available to other people,
right.
And maybe he's doing that because he wants her to be available to him. But if he's saying that she's married, so he's saying she's usher, then less lamba, we have no problem. We'll believe his edus because he's being made, he's testifying against his own self-interest.
Yeah.
In fact, the Mar Pshita, that second case is Pashat. Of course, you should be believed in that case. Where it says, no, you would think that maybe he'd rather that she be considered married. Because he wants to takamim zana with her, but it's a bigger thrill when he knows she's married, and that's why he's saying she's married. The Gomer Kamash Malon, the where it says no, really we're not chayshish ma'im gduvim taku, and really he is going to be believed to say that she is married. Why? Because it's not the best for him. And the Gemara says the reason why it's not the best is because the kama the kaima hachi shlichalei, that when she's standing over here, he's making her married. Then she's not shliach then. But if she's not married, then he is. So making her married is not making her more available to him, and it's not something that he wants. So therefore, he will be believed. Like we said in Rosh Hashanah Paskin, like Rav Nachman over here. Rav Nachman says, a new case. Ganav Nisan v'ganav Tishrei loish meganav. Somebody who stole in Tishrei, and stole in Nisan and stole in Tishrei, this is not called the ganav, and it's got to be kasher leidus. The Gemara says, what's the case?
The ganav Nisan, the month of Nisan, now the ganav Tishrei.
He stole in Nisan and in Tishrei.
6 months, yeah.
But what's pshat? Why? The Gemara says because it's talking about a specific case. Hani mili be'arisa v'davramuat. A It's talking about an arisa, or aris. An aris is working in the owner of the field, and he's going to take a third or a quarter will belong to him. But he's merhater. Look, I was working so hard this whole year. I can take another orange or two. Nobody, he's not going to mind. And v'davar mu'at, it's talking about a small amount. And v'davar shnigmor malachtai, something that is complete. The malach of it is complete. So let's say it's fully ripe, or fully baked or whatever it is. That's he also is merhater because like a pile, a pile who works with the food, you have to let him eat from it. I was at a chocolate factory once here in Lakewood, and they told me that they let the workers on the floor of the factory, they're allowed to eat whatever chocolate they want. Right? And they said that they only do that for the first couple of weeks. They just stuff themselves with chocolate, but after they get used to it, and they don't eat anything.
Sick of it.
Yeah. But the point is that he can be Marahater because he says, I'm working with all this. So in this kind of case, it's not considered that he has the quote-unquote shame ganav that's going to be pasaleidas. Fine. Zaktim Arvaiter. Echrid Rav Zvid, Chad ganav kava desari upaslei, v'chad ganav kibura da'ahini upaslei. Rav Zvid had workers who worked for him, and one stole from him a kav of barley, and one stole from him a branch like a cluster of dates. And in both cases, he passled them. He says that they're passel eidos because they're stealing. They're being eid chamas. And the Gemara is making a chiddush that it's not the same as an aris. An aris gets a portion of it. They were supposed to get their salary. They shouldn't have eaten any of the food, and therefore he passled them. Zak Gemara weiter. Hanu kavuroi the kavar nafshe b'yam tevrishin shal atzeres. There was grave diggers who buried somebody, a dead person, on the first day of Shavuos. Shamtinu Rav Papa of Haslan Leidas. Rav Papa put them in Chayrim, in Shamta, and he passled them for Eidos. Lachsharinu Rav Huna b'Rav Yeshua. Rav Huna b'Rav Yeshua said they're kosher Leidas. Rav Papa said for Rashaminu, these are Rasham, they're Machal Yantif.
Right.
And so Rav Huna b'Rav Yeshua answered, Savri mitzvah kavdi. They thought that it was a mitzvah that they're doing.
Right.
So Rav Papa said that we already put them in nidui from different times that they did this, and we told them you can't do it. So they're not innocent over here; they know what they're doing. So Rav Huna b'Rav Yeshua said back, no. Savri kaparu kav dilan rabbanan. They thought, look, we did what we had to do. It was the right thing to do. You can't leave the guy, the corpse unburied over Yantif. You got to bury him. So we did what we have to do. Yeah, but we had to be Machal Yantif to do this, which was the right thing to do. So you have to do a little kapara. So that's why they put us in Nidai. But they thought so that they're doing the right thing, and that's what Rav Huna b'Rav Yeshua said. Even though Haka were doing the wrong thing, but Lamaisa they're still kashaleidas. Zak the Gemara. Itmar we learned. Eid Zaymin. Top of Zayin Amad Aleph. Abai Amar.
Interesting. Today I have a Brooklyn, and one year a shear, and a ball was driving me how to big shear up. So the first I got bought them, and then the guy was having this bust.
Perfect. Okay.
I said over there. Now I look at it. I said, yeah,
It looks familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but he was very, very good.
Good. Okay, Itmar we learned. Eid Zaymin. If you have an Eid Zaymin, so this case is like this. In Nisan, the Eid Zaymin said Eidus. Ruvain did this. And in Tishrei, two other Eidim came and said Imanu Yisem. And therefore your Eidus is no good. The
saying they came over here 6 months later?
Yeah, so we're saying the story over here, and the Gemara is going to say in a second why the Gemara says this, that there was a time split between when they said their Eidos and they became Zaymin. Not like we usually think that the Eidim are coming in and said, Reuben killed Shimon, and then boom, two other Eidim came in and said, Imanu Yisem. No, this is talking about there was a long stretch of time between them. So Abaye Amar Mafreyu Nifsal. Abaye says when the second pair of Eidim come in Tishrei and said that they were Eid Zayimim, they're Pasal and Mafreya all the way from Isan. Rav Amar Mikal Labo Nifsal. And Rav says no, when the Eidim, the second pair of Eidim come in and say Imanu Yisem, that's when the first pair of Eidim becomes Pasal. Abaye Amar Mafreyu Nifsal. Abaye says that they become Pasal all the way back from Nisan. Idna the Asid Rashu. When from the time that he testified, he was testifying falsely. He's a Rasha. Vataram Amra Al Tashis Yatchem Rasha Al Tashis Rasha Aid. Torah says, don't join with Russia, don't let a Russia be an aid, and therefore the aidus is pasul all the way from then. Rava Amar Mikanal Laba Nefsal. Rava says the pasul from here on in. Eid Zaymim Chidushu, because the halacha is that the svara is that Eid Zaym is a chiddush. Why is Eid Zaym a chiddush? Because it doesn't make sense logically. My chazis the sam chasahani smechani. Who says that you should rely on the second pure of Eidim Musadim Manu Yisem? Rely on the first pure of Eidim.
What's it? The Torah tells us no.
So the Torah is telling us a chiddush. The Torah is telling us something new that we wouldn't have come up with our own seichel. If that's the case,
everything in the Torah, there are things you never think of.
So we say this far in other places. So over here, the Eitzem is a chiddush because it's not logical, right? And therefore, the Torah had to tell it to us. And therefore, in l'chaboy, it only has that we only come to it from the time that this chiddush happened. When the second peer of Eidim came and said him on Yisem, that's when the Torah said chiddush. We believe the second peer, and therefore that's when they become pasul. Ikadamri, others said, Rava nami kabaya Israelite. Rava really be'etzim holds like Abaya also elamafreyo nefsal. However, umaitam ka'amar mikanal abba. What did Rava say mikanal abba? Mishum seder dul kuches. Because the Pseido Lukuchas, in other words, if you say that it's Pasal and Afreya, then all the transactions that these people were Eidos between the Nisan and Tishrei, that's why we said there's such a big break, they're going to lose out. Because the Eidos is all Pasal, so all the stars that they did was Pasal. So that's why Rava says, I guess Takana Rabbanan, because the Rabbanan said, I'm guessing that's the svara. Therefore, and there's a big problem over here. Therefore, it's mekan lava. Fraktamar my benai. What's the nafkamina between these pshatim? Ikbeinayu dasidu beitrei bechad and bachad, and again beitrei bechad, where you had, instead of having two people coming in and saying the first peer of Eidim imanu hayisam, you don't have that. You have two people come in and said, one of those two Eidim are with us. And then another two people, pure of Eidim, came and said, the other one of those Eidim are with us. So now the Eidim are Eidim Zaymin, but it's not a Chiddush, because each one is 2 against 1. Right. So therefore, it's not a Chiddush. And then that means that you could say that Rava says that even though normally I would say Mikan Labah, but over here I would say Lamafreya, because it's not a Chiddush. Inami the Baslinu Begaslinusa, or that the second pair of Eidim, they passed the first pair of Eidim, not by saying Imano Yisem, but they said they're Gazlanim. Over there, it's not a Chiddush. Why? Because they're not contradicting their Eidos. They're saying, yeah, maybe they're saying the true Eidos, but they're not good Eidim, because we saw them steal. The Eidim didn't say, oh, we didn't steal, right? They're not saying Eidos on that. So therefore, the Eidim, the second pair of Eidim that's coming and passing them from an outside reason, that's not a chiddush, and therefore that will be a case that if you're totally in the chiddush, you should still say the mafreya. Of course, if you are upset with the kurchas, then you have to say it's only mikanu lavav. Rav Yirmi B'Difti. Rav Yirmi B'Difti said, "Avad Rav Papi of the Kavasid Rabba." Rav Papi did a paskin the Shiloh where it came up like this, like Rava, that said that mikanu lavav nifsal. Marbrei Rashi Amar Hilchas Kavasid Abaya. My brother Rashi says that the halacha is like Abaya, that you say, Mafreyahu nifsal. The Hilchas of Kavasid Abaya b'Yalkagam. The Gemara says it's famous about that the halacha is like Abaya in Yalkagam. It's these 6 cases. And the case of the Ayin, in Yal, is talking about Eid Zaymim. That's our case of our Gemara right here. And the Gemara is passing like Abaya, that Mafreyahu nifsal.
As I found out there in the share going in, I didn't know about it, but who was the Yalagam over here?
Okay, so now you know.
But do you know what they all are?
Yes, so Rashi says what they are. Rashi says.
Okay.
yeah. Rashi says, and Rashi says that the ayin is our Eidus Eitzayim. Okay, Zakmar Vayter. Mummer Eichel Nevelis Lutiava and Divrei Kol Pasal. If you have a mummer who eats Nevelis Lutiava, and you have a guy who wants to eat not a cheeseburger, who wants to eat a hamburger, but it's not kosher. He'll go to ShopRite and he'll buy a hamburger straight off the tray for shelf. Why is he doing that? He's doing that because it's cheaper. So but he has a time for it and he wants to get the cheaper meat.
Why is that called a mummer for?
A mummer means a person who doesn't do one of the mitzvahs. He's not listening to one of the mitzvahs. He's mummer. He's rebelling against the Torah, against the Rebbeinu Shalom. But he's only a mummer for eating the velas l'tiyavan. And we'll contrast that with the next case in a second, which is a different kind of mummer. This guy who doesn't really care about the Rebbeinu Shalom, doesn't care about the Torah. He likes his steak, doesn't want to pay extra money for it. He goes to ShopRite and buys it from the treif shelf instead of the kosher aisle. Right? So what's he doing? He's saying that he's doing it out money. And we're going to keep on seeing over when people do things because of money, they're like a Russia the Hamas, Rashi says. They're like the Russia who steals because he wants money. And that's the kind of thing that we pasal us. So Divrei HaKol pasal. Everyone will hold these pasal. However, lahachis, Abayam or pasal, Rav Amar kasher. Abayi says pasal and Rav says kasher. When you have what's lahachis, the guy goes and eats nevelas. He's not even hungry. It's Rebbeinu Shalom. I will show you. I'll show you. And he goes and I'm going to eat a cheeseburger. I'm going to eat a treifa hamburger over here. So you have to think about it. The guy believes in the Rebbeinu Shalom, right? But he's going and saying, anyway, I'm eating it's a madrega. I have a friend who many years ago, when he was younger, he was very upset at the Rebbeinu Shalom once. And he went 3 months without davening because he was upset at the Rebbeinu Shalom. Now, obviously, it's not what a person should do. But it's taka madrega. It's taka madrega that he felt so, the Rebbeinu Shalom was so real and he felt so angry at him that this is what he did. So that's not a libet schus. You shouldn't do it, but that's a story. So Abaye says that this Eichel Nevelas L'Tiyavan is Eichel Nevelas Lahachis is pasal, and Rabbi says it's kasher. Now the Gemara explains. Abaye Amar pasal. Abaye says he's pasal Davale Russia because the guy's a Russia. He's eating Nevelas Lahachis. Yeah. Rachmana Amar Tashis Russia 8, and the Rebbeinu Shalom said, don't make a Russia into an 8, so he can't be an 8. Rav Amar kasher. Rav says he's kasher because Russia the chamas binan. The Torah is saying a Russia of a stealing type of chamas, where it has to do with money. Right. But if it doesn't have to do with money, it doesn't pass an aid. So now there's a very big machlekes over here. When you say that an aid is pasal because he's a Russia, is this a global Russia? The guy's just a bad guy, and maybe it's even only ben adam lamakayim, not even ben adam lachaveroi, or it's ben adam lachaveroi, but not even the kind of ben adam lachaveroi of stealing. Or do you say that no, it has to specifically be like an aid chamas, an aid who says something that's not true, to steal, or somebody's asik in stealing, and therefore he's maslay this. But for other aidasin, but if not for that, if for other reasons he's in Russia, he wants to eat a cheeseburger lachis, he's still going to be a kosher aid. Okay? I mean, you have to realize what Rav is saying over here. Rav is saying that you have a guy who eats cheeseburgers in the restaurant on Shabbos in front of the window where everybody sees him on the way to shul, and he sounds like he's still a kosher aid, right? Okay, you have to understand this. In fact, the Gemara on Meisvel asks you kasha, Al-Tashis Russia aid. Pasuk says you don't put a Russia aid, and we learn Al-Tashis Chamas aid, that you shouldn't put, you have Chamas in the same Pasuk. Eilu Gazlanin Umoilin B'Shvuos. This is talking about Gazlanin, people who steal, so that's the same thing as Chamas, and people who are Moil B'Shvuos. Shvuos is Lashon Rabin, 2 Shvuos. My love, but the question is, what are we talking about? We're talking about Echad Shvuos Shav, Echad Shvuos Mammon. The Gemara is having a Shiloh Rabbi over here. When a person says that I am going to eat this cheeseburger because I am upset at the Rebbeinu Shalom and I'm going to show the Rebbeinu Shalom. So he's a mummer lahachis, right? He's a Rasha. This is not a good guy, right? You do not want him to marry your daughter, right? He's not a good guy. However, Rava says, even though he's a bad guy, he's still a kosher aid. Because the Torah says, the psul has to be a psul of coming because of money, because he takes money that's not his, or is chashad on money somehow. But this guy, he's an honest guy maybe. He's just upset at the Rebbeinu Shalom, he's showing being murdered in the Rebbeinu Shalom, it's a terrible thing, it's a Rasha Taka. But he's still going to be a kosher aid. And Abaye says, no, he's always going to be, any Rasha is going to be pasul, because a Rasha is pasul. And the Torah is not saying specifically what kind of Rasha, a Rasha is pasul. So the Gemara says, Akasha, Meisvei, Asu Akasha, Al Tashis Rasha aid, I'm going back a line or two, the Al Tashis Chamas aid, what is the pasuk talking about? The Brisa says, "Elu gazlanim moilim b'shvuos." These are gazlanim, so thieves. We knew this. This is pashat. Everyone agrees to this. And people are moil b'shvuos. They're not careful. They're over their shvuos. What they say, the shvuos is lashon rabim, 2 shvuos, right? So my love, the Gemara says, you could tell me what's this talking about? Echad shvuos shav, echad shvuos mammon. It's both a shvuos shav and a shvuos mammon. If I go and I say this table, Rabbi, you see this table? The person says, I swear that this is a chair. That's a shvuos shav. Everyone knows you're lying. You know you're lying. That's a shvuos shav. But and the shvuos mammon is, I swear that I pater. Let's say you taina that I owe you money. I swear that I'm pater. I never did it. But now, if I'm lying on that, you call me lying on the shvuos shav of mammon, the shvuos of mammon, then it makes sense I should be chashud, because everyone should agree that I should be chashud. Why? Because you see that I'm not careful with money. I'm going to lie about money, so I can't be kosher for money. But if you say it's just a shvuas shav, right, then I'm just not careful with the halacha. I'm not worried about the Rebbeinu Shalom, but maybe I'm still a good age for money. So it's going to depend. So l'chayra, since you see the havamina of the Gemara is that the Bryce is talking about both shvuas shav and shvuas mammon, that means even if you're a Rosh bin Adam l'malkaim, not only if you're a Rosh bin Adam l'chaveiroi, it's still you're going to be puzzled. It says that al tashus chamas eid. Right, so you see that the halach is like Abaya, that it doesn't matter what you're in Russia for, you're still going to be pasleidas. Mar says no, maybe not. Idi shvuos mammon. When it says shvuos lashon rabim, both talking about shvuos mammon, and really our only problem is because you're chayshid on stealing, you're chayshid on not saying the truth about money. So why does it say lashon rabim? Well, my shvuos. Why does it say lashon rabim? Shvuos dalma. You don't about all swearings. You say Yankel's not careful with shvuos, right? You don't have to say Yankel's not careful with shavua. You can say that's a normal way of speaking. You say Yankel's not careful with shvuos. Fine. So you don't have a raya against Rava. Beisvei, Maras Nasser, another kasha. Altashas Rasha Eid, Altashas Chamas Eid, Elu Gazlanin Umave Ribius. This is talking about a Gazlin and someone who's Malva Baribis. Now, someone who's Malva Baribis is also not careful with other people's money. But what the Gemara does not say, someone who's Eichel Level Flachas, someone who didn't Avera. Right? The Gemara, the Brisa before when we said Shavuos, we could say both ways. We could say it's like Abaya, or we could say it's like Rava. We could take Shavuos and talk about Shavuos Shav of Ben Adal Makayim and Shavuos of Ben Adal Chaverai. But or we could say no, it's only talking about Ben Adal Chaverai. This Brisa we're stuck. It's only talking about Ben Adal Chaverai, and therefore it's mashma that the halacha is that if it would be Ben Adam Lamakam only, he would be kosher. Right? The guy who's eating the cheeseburger because he's angry at their Rebbeinu Shalom, he would be kosher. Right? So the Gemara says Tifta Dabaya Tifta. It's a kasha and Abaya. We shlug up Abaya and we say that the halacha is from this price. So we see the halacha is not like Abaya, it's like Rava, and that this person who eats the cheeseburger lechachis is going to be kosher later. Let's say that this machlekes Abaye and Rava is taloi the machlekes Tana. What's machlekes Tana? This is in Tosefta. The Gemara said, the Tosefta says, Eid Zaymim pasul chalater kula divra meir. An Eid Zaymim is pasul for everything. He can't be an Eid, he can't be a Dayan, he's done. Right? That's what Rameir holds. And Rameir doesn't say what kind of Eid Zaymim he is. Whatever kind of Eid Zaymim is, what? Right, 2 people came in and said Iman, so we know he lied, right? But he's right. Rabbi Yossi says no. That we say that he's possible chalater kula if he was huzam in dina nefashis, right? Because why? You see, even this chashva thing is going to kill somebody. Like you said, that you see he doesn't say the truth. So, like you said, he can't trust him in anything. He's no good. We certainly don't trust him on money. But the other way around, Rabbi Yossi holds that if you're a huzam on dine mamanis, he's still kashal dine fashis. We still say
his money got carried away.
Yeah. So Nema Abaye Krameir, Rava Krabiesi. Let's say that Abaya is like Rameir. Abaya said that the guy who ate the cheeseburger laches is pasul because any Russia is going to be no good as an aid. So he's saying like Rameir who says any aid zaim is going to be pasul. And Rava Krabiesi and Rava who said that only that the cheeseburger guy who's kosher for aid, he's going to hold like Rabbi Yossi who says it's only pasul if it's Hosam Medina and Nefashis. But if it's Hosam Medina Mamnis, he's still kosher for Dina and Nefashis. Abai, the Gemara doesn't explain. Abai, Rameir, Damar Min Mikula L'Chumra. Abai is going like Rameir because Rameir said that we go Mikula L'Chumra. That means even if he was an Eid Zaynim on Mamanis, still we say he's not going to be kosher for Eidos on Chumra on Din and Nefashis either. Rav Amar Rabbi Yossi, and Rav says like Rabbi Yossi, the Amar Mechumra L'Kula Aminan. Rabbi Yossi says that if he did a Chumra, if he's lied by Din and Nefashis, we say that we don't trust him on Din and Mamanis either. But Mikula L'Chumra Lo Aminan, we don't say that if he lied on something less Chamar, he lied about Mamanis, that we don't trust him on Nefashis. We'll still trust him on Nefashis. The Gemara says lie. So now this is going to be a kasha because first of all, why are Abai and Rava arguing on the machlekes of Rameir and Besi? Abai should have said, "I hold like Rameir." Rava should have said, "I hold like Rabbi Yossi." That's one kasha. And also we have a klal. The Gemara is going to bring in later that Rameir, Rabbi Yossi, halach Rabbi Yossi. So if we're saying that Rava is saying like Rabbi Yossi, then it's a kasha on Abai who's saying like Rameir because we paskin all is like Rabbi Yossi against Rameir, right? So the Gemara wants to know what's going on over here. So the Gemara says, "Loi, aliv Rabbi Yossi kuli al malay pligi." You cannot say that according to that Abaya could agree with Rabbi Yossi. In other words, Abaya said that he's going to be pasul if the lahachas guy is going to be pasul, right? He for sure cannot hold like Rabbi Yossi, because according to Rabbi Yossi, even if the guy if the guy did dinei nefashis, he's going to be pasul on dinei mamanis. But if the dinei mamanis, he's not going to be pasul on dinei nefashis. But that's on from mikula l'chumra, right? But Abaya holds. And that's
we're not talking wherever they saw their menas because then it's for sure a problem no matter
the way Rashi explains this is that in the case of Rav Yossi, the case was the guy lied about Mammon, and then when Rav Yossi says we believe him about the Eid Zayim lied, right? He was caught. Right, he was caught about Mammonis. Now when you do an Eid Zayim and a Mammonis, who are you doing a bad thing to? But who else? Yeah.
Not as much as
both. Right, that's true. But there's two aspects to this. There's Minad L'Chaveira and Minad L'Makam. And Afal Pikein, we say we trust him for Dinei Fashis. But in a case of no, but think about Abaya for a second. In Abaya's case, he said from nevela, if you eat nevela, which is only a problem for the Rebbeinu Shalom, right?
No one cares.
Right? He still cannot be believed in anything else, right? So you see, Abaya is way more machmir than Rabbi. So Abaya cannot say, Abaya has to say like Rav Meir, and Abaya says that I have to say like Rav Meir because I cannot hold like Rav Yossi, and you Rava you could hold like Rav Yossi. So that's why you have to say that according to Abaya, he stuck to his machlekes Tanam. He was only going according to one shita, and Abaya is taka going to like Rav Meir. But ki pligi aliv Rav Meir. When do they argue? In other words, where can you say that the machlekes is not going to be across the board? Aliv Rav Meir. Abaya Rav Meir. Abaya could say I hold like Rav Meir. Rava, you don't have to say that Rava holds like Rav Yossi. Rava could say, I even hold like Rav Meir. In other words, according to me, it's not a machlekes tanam. I can go according to both shitas. Rava could say, Ad kan like Rav Meir hasam. Rav Meir only says in that case of Eid Zaymim that he's going to be possible Chalatar Kula, El Gabi Eid Zaymim, the Mamain, by Eid Zaymim of money, the Rala Shemayim, Rala Brius. It's bad bin on Lamakim, it's bad bin on Lachaverei. Abu Hacha, but over here by the Momer Lahachis, the cheeseburger guy, the Nevel guy, the Rala Shemayim, the Ein Rala Brius, like, you could say that a mayor will be made to me and say that he's going to be a kosher leidas in another case, in a case of mamas. The halach is like a baya. The halach is like a baya over here that you say that momer lahachis is going to be puzzled for all eidas.
Is it worse if someone's assuming that they kill somebody in the case of killing? That's worse than someone who's
I think that's also Ralishman Ralabrius, but the Gemara is bringing a raya even from the mum. Yeah, but Gemara is bringing a raya even from the mum in this case. That the mum in this case is worse than the Momer Lahachis case. So because the mum in this case is bad, he doesn't care about Hashem and he doesn't care about people. For sure. But the Gemara is saying even the case of Eid Zayin by money still can't stem with Abaya. Because Abaya will say that he's puzzled even in a case where it was only bad to the Rabbi Shalom and not bad to Bedan Lachavera. And Rabbi Yossi...
The case of killing is it bad to who?
Bad to everybody. Rabbi Shalom...
My question isn't Muhammad that someone dies because of him?
Yeah, but you don't even need to go that far to say that you see Abaya can't stem
because money is worse than both.
Because money has both, and still Rabbi Yossi says, but he's going to be believed by nefashos. He will be believed by nefashos. But according to Abaya, even just by the Rebbe Shalom, he's still not going to be believed on anything. Right? Practicum. So Gemara says Allah is like Abaya. Practicum Ravai Taisav. We asked the Kasha on Abaya. We said the Altashis Rosh Eid, Altashis Chamas Eid. These are the Gazlanim and Malvi Rubias. And the Gemara said that's mashma not the people who eat Nevelis Lachis. And the Gemara says Chifta Abaya Chifta. So we stuck up Abaya. So what are we saying it? The Gemara says no. Ahi Rav Yesihi. That's Rav Yesi. That's Das Yachid. That Abaya says Rav Yesi. And Abaya is going like the other Rabbi Yamrin, like Rav Meir. Even if it is Rabbi Yossi, we have a klal, Rabbi Meir of Rabbi Yossi, Allah Rabbi Yossi. Where Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yossi have hamachleikas, the Allah is like Rabbi Yossi. Where it says, Shani Hasam b'saslam Tanak Rabbi Meir. The Tana said a stam mishnah like Rabbi Meir, and therefore we say, when you have a stam mishnah like somebody, that's the psak. Where did the Tana say this? Where it says the following story. Yehuda bar Chama katal nafsher. Chama killed somebody. Amar le Rish Glusler of Abba bar Yaakov. Rish Glusler said to Rabbi Yaakov, "Hook ayin ba, go look into the case. Ivade katal l'chihu ileine. If you for sure kill this guy, blind him." And Rashi explains, blindness is a punishment.
So he really killed someone on purpose?
That's what the Shiloh.
Nothing to hate him. He himself killed someone.
This Bar Chama was not a good person.
It was someone
No. Bar Chama was a guy. Yes, not a guy. The Gemara says he killed somebody. Rish Gusa said to Rabbi Abba bar Yaakov, go check out what happened. You're dying. Go check out what happened. And if Yitaka did it, blind him. Because Rashi says this was the time that they weren't allowed to put people to death. But still, the halach is tikkun ha'olam. Bezdin is allowed to punish people in certain situations. In a case even where they can't kill somebody. Bezdin makin v'anshin shleiman aterov klaus. So Asur Trei Sadi Asidi Beit Vade Katal. Two of them came in and said, "This Bar Chama guy, he killed the guy." Azal Ihu, so Bar Chama went. I see Trei Sadi. He brought two Eidim. Asidi Beit Bechad Mehanach, and they said Eidos on one of these. Chadam Rekaboidi Did Ganav Kavad the Chushta. One said, "In front of me, he stole a thing of a kav of barley." The Chadam Rekaboidi Did Ganav Kata is a Ganav. Kamadidi Kata de Vortia. He stole the handle of a spear. So he stole. So he wanted to say, you see, the Edom that said I'm a killer are pasul, and therefore I should go off the hook. Amar lei, my daitach Rameir. What do you hold like Rameir? That you're telling me that somebody who is pasul le'edas because of Geneva is also going to be pasul for dinei nefashos? Rameir Rabbi Yossi, halach Rabbi Yossi. The halach is like Rameir and Machlekes have Rameir and Rabbi Yossi. The halach is like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi, Ha'amar Hosam Din Mamnes, Kashal Din Nefashos. And Rabbi Yossi says, even if you're not okay for Din Mamnes, you're still going to be okay for Din Nefashos. Amalei Rav Papi, so Rav Papi was standing over there, and he said to Rav Abba Bar Yaakov, who was the Zion over here, he said, that's where the Tana doesn't do a Stam Mishnah like Rameir. The Tana did say a Mishnah like Rameir, and therefore we pass like Rameir over here, and therefore he was saying the Eidim are pasul, and Bar Chama can get off scot-free. Now the Gemara said, how do you know that you have the Stam Mishnah? So the Gemara is repeating the story, because in the story you have the same dialogue, and said they were talking about here's the Stam Mishnah. You have Mishnah later on, somebody who's roy to dan din in the fashas is roy to dan din in mamnes. Mani, who's this Mishnah going like? If you say it's Rabbi Yossi, okay, Zaymim, the Mamoin, the Kashal din in the fashas pas din in mamnes. According to Rabbi Yossi, someone who's an Eid Zaymim of Mamoin, he got caught that he was lying about somebody owing somebody else money. Right? So he's still kosher for dinei nefashos. Right? So how can you say kol roy ladin dinei nefashos, roy ladin dinei mamanis? He could be a situation where he is allowed to do dinei nefashos, hypothetically, but he's not allowed to do dinei mamanis. So if the Mishnah is saying that whoever is roy dinei nefashos is roy for dinei mamanis, that's not true according to Rabbi Yossi. It's not always true. El lav Rameir. So you see it's Rameir. So you have the Stam Mishnah that's passing. It must be going according to Rameir. Gemara says, Mimai, how do you know that that's the Pshat in the Mishnah? I'll tell you a totally different Pshat in the Mishnah, and then it has nothing to do with this machlokes. Dilma b'psula yuchsin kai. It's talking about psula yuchsin. The halacha is that a dayan for dinei nefashos has to be a miyuchis. The Gemara is going to learn that later from a pasuk. That he has to be, he can't be a ben gerim, he can't be a ben psulin. It has to be a miyuchis. And the Gemara is interpreting the Mishnah now, saying like this: Kol roy ladin dinei nefashos, roy ladin dinei mamnes. Someone who's roy to dan dinei nefashos because he's not a psol, he's also for sure going to be able to dan dinei mamnes. Tilay temahachi, because if you don't say this, seifa diktani yesh roy ladin dinei mamnes, ve'in roy ladin dinei nefashos. You have a case like this: somebody that very Mishnah, somebody who's roy to dan dinei nefashos. I'm sorry, roy to dan adin mamanis. He's not roy to dan din nefashos. Amayin roy. Why isn't he roy? If you're going to say like we said before, the itzam adin nefashos, roy ladin din mamanis. If you're saying that it's itzam adin mamanis by din nefashos, and he's still roy to dan din nefashos. Where it says that's not true. But in a case where he is an itzam adin nefashos, everyone's masking that he's no good for dinei mamanis. So it's the other way. When he was itzam adin mamanis, is he okay for dinei nefashos? So you can't say from the sefer, we see you can't say that we're talking about a case of if he's chashav on dinei mamanis, chashav on dinei nefashos. You can't say that. You have to say it's talking about psol yochsin. That someone who's psol yochsin, he is roy to dan dinei mamanis, because of dinei mamanis you don't have to be in yochsin. He's just not the roy to dan dinei nefashos. So the ratio also is talking about psol yochsin. So Mar says, I have a different makar. This is where the Tana gave us this Tam Mishnah. The time we learned the Mishnah. Elin Absulan. This is our Mishnah from before. These are the Psulim. Mesachid Kuvios, he's a gambler, Malved Ribis, he lends Ruth Ribis, Mafricha Yoinim, he bets on pigeon races, Mesach Shvius, he does business with Perish Shvius, Va'avadim, Zaklal. This is the Klal. Kal Eidah Sheini Ishik Sherla. Any edus that a woman's not kosher, because a woman's kosher for certain idiots, even as an eid echad. You don't need apishtayim eidim yakum davar for certain situations. So any edus that a woman is not kosher for, afhein in cherla. These people, these malvei beribis and africhienim are also not kosher. Man, who's this going like? If you're saying it's Rabbi Yossi, you have a scenario where somebody who is going to be possible according to Rabbi Yossi for dinei mamanis, but it'll still be kosher for dinei nefashos, right? So Hakis and a woman is not going to be kosher for dinei nefashos, right? And and you'll have a situation where they're not the same halacha as a woman. And according to this man is not the same halacha as a woman. And according to if you say this Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi, how do you make it shtim? Alav Rameiri must be that this Mishnah is Rameir, and Rameir holds that in the case of Eid Zaymim, even if he's just an Eid Zaymim money, he's going to be puzzled completely, and therefore he could only say Eidus, that an Isha's Kshera. He cannot say Eidus like a regular Eid. He's puzzled like Rameir said, L'chol HaTorah. Back to the story. Kam Bar Chama got up, Nashke Akari, he kissed Rav Papi's feet, the Kivle L'Karbe D'Kuli Shani. He accepted upon himself to pay Rav Papi's complete tax bill for that year.
He says you're okay.
Because Rav Papi was the one who got him to go get off free. Zak the Mishnah, Masnisan. I'm not sure how far we'll get, but let's keep on going. The Elu Hina Kroivim.
This is a case of belated bribery. We learned about it Rivers afterwards.
Yeah.
It says over here, Russia is not here, or he did not.
Okay. Zak the Mishnah Weiter, Masnisan. The Elu Hina Kroivim, these are the Kroivim. People are puzzled not because they're chashad of Alz Gezel, but they're chashad because they're a Karev, and we can't trust the Karev what he says about a Karev. Achiv, a guy's brother, Bachi Aviv, his father's brother, Bachi Imai, his mother's brother, Ubala Chaisai, his sister's husband, we call that a brother-in-law, but specifically his sister's husband, Ubala Chais Aviv, his father's sister's husband, so his aunt, Ubala Chais Imai, I'm sorry, his uncle, but his aunt's husband is what I meant to say. Ubala Chais Imai, the husband of his mother's sister, that's also his uncle. Ubal Imai.
Not real court, only according to marriage.
Right, and the Gemara is going to talk about exactly how that works. Ubal Imai, and the mother's husband,
Not his father.
right? Not his father. So the mother remarried. The Chamav, his father-in-law. The Gisai and his brother-in-law. That means his wife's sister's husband. Hain, their apostle. Uvneihem, their sons are apostle. The Chasneihem, their sons-in-law are apostle. The Chargai Levadai, and his stepson, that means his wife's son, right? So he married a woman and she already had a son. Levadai, but only him, not his son and not his son-in-law.
It's different than a real blood.
It's different than the other cases, yeah. Rabbi Yossi, Zu Mishnah Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yossi says, this is how Rabbi Akiva learned what we just said. Our Mishnah is showing, but the original Mishnah said the following. Daidai, his uncle, Uben Daidai, his uncle's son, anyone who's roi to yarshin him, and Rashi says you have situations, and we learned this in Bava Basra in Yesh Neichlen on Chilin, Man Chilin on Neichlen, Lo Neichlen on Chilin, right? We had all the cases over there. There's some where the Yusha goes only one way. So in the situation, somebody who's roi to yarshin him, that's who cannot be made. But if he can yarshin the guy and the guy cannot yarshin him, then he would be a kosher aid. That guy would be a kosher aid for him. And anyone who's related to him at that time. Rashi says that Ba'is Shah means the time that he's saying the Eidos, or the time that he saw this thing that happened, the Maisa that he's being made on. Let's say the guy was a Karav, he was related, for example, his son-in-law, okay? And then he became distant. Why? Because he got divorced, or the daughter died. Hareza kasher. Tanakama holds, or this is really Rabbi Yossi, I guess, that he's kasher. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Rabbi Yehuda says, Afilu meisa bitai, v'yesh lo bana mimena hareza karev. Even if his son-in-law died, his daughter died, but his son-in-law, who married his daughter, still has children alive from this daughter.
From the son.
From the son and his son-in-law and his daughter, right? So in other words, this guy has eniklach from this daughter who was nifter. So since he is still connected through the eniklach, and the Gemara is going to explain why, I assume, so he's still considered related, and he cannot be made. Ha'oyev v'asaynei. Somebody who is a real good friend of somebody, and somebody who's an enemy of somebody, who hates somebody. Both are pasul eidos for the guy. What is an oyev and what's a saynei? a sainei. Oyev is a shushvinai. An oyev is a shushvin. A shushvin is a person who goes and sort of stands up.
Best man?
I was about to say, by the Goyim they call it best man, but in Chazal it was a really significant thing. And the raya to this is, the Gemara says that the Rebbeinu Shalom was the shushvin for Adam Rishon's chasana with Chava, right? It was a very chashuv thing, and somebody who's a shushvin was very close with that person. So so during the time of the chuppah, at that time, the shushvin would be considered a karev. Sainei, what's considered a sainei, an enemy, a hater? Kol shlei diber ima shleish yam be'eva. You didn't speak to somebody for 3 days because they're so upset at each other. Amrulay, they said to him, Alay nechshadu Yisrael al kach. Yidden are not nechshad on this, that they're going to lie because they hate somebody or because they like somebody.
Even if the guy's an enemy, he still won't lie to him?
Yeah. However, Rashi says that this is only the gabi eidos. It's still a oyev and a sign. They cannot be a dayan for the person, because even though they're not nechshad, they're not going to lie because of it. They're not going to swing. But it's not even that they swing. They cannot necessarily see the schus. You hate the guy's guts. You're not going to see the schus. You're biased against him, right?
So Eidos you're allowed to.
Eidos you're allowed to because you're going to say what you saw. We're not afraid that you're going to. We're not choshesh that you're going to lie, right? You're not going to say what you saw. But
any what's it called judge is because they get any little thing.
Well, so the Gemara says,
especially by a family, especially by a case of whatever, right?
So for a case of somebody who's family, or a case of somebody who he really likes, or he really hates, right? Then you really know that he has biases. He's not allowed to be a judge. I'll give you a mashal. These days, when you have a law case, like a constitutional, whatever it is, the lawyers will tell you, oh, you got to sign to this and this judge. That's good, because he has history of being really tough in a situation like this, or he has history of being really lenient in a situation like this, right? It means he has a bias to be lenient in this kind of case. The same thing applies, and he doesn't see the chumrah that right? Same thing applies when you have somebody come in front of you and you're related to them. You don't even see the bad. You see it makes sense. Taki should be patur. Yeah, Taki should be patur. Yeah, that's not a good reason he should be chayav. That's not a good reason he should be chayav. And the same thing, if somebody comes and you hate his guts, al-Sadayin. Same thing, somebody comes in front of you as a dayan and you hate his guts, you really can't stand him, and he sits next to you in shul, and he's mamish the whole davening, he's talking to the guy next to him. And you cannot stand his guts. And now he came in front of you, you're the dayan. You're not going to, you see, this is a Russia. I know a case where somebody cost somebody his job because he couldn't handle that the guy spoke during the shiur that he was giving. That's the story I heard. I hope it's not true, right? But that guy would not be okay to be a dayan for this guy, but he still will be kosher to be an aid. That's what the Gemara. That's what Mishnah is saying. What? Yeah. Fact the Gemara, Mnani Mili, how do you know this? Tan Rabbanan, the Rabbanan learned, Lo Yimsu Avos al Banim. Avos should not die because of Banim. Avos is Lashon Rabbim. Matam Lemer. What's the pasuk coming to say? If you say that the Rebbeinu Shalom, not even or else didn't Adam, you shouldn't punish a father because of what the son did. And Banim shouldn't be killed because of the Avera of the fathers. Harek Farnemer already says a pasuk elsewhere, Ish Becheti Yumasu. A person should die for his own Avera, not for someone else's Avera. Must be talking about Eidos Banim. That when Banim say Eidos on Avais, and how's the situation of Avais? The situation of Avais is a guy and his brother. That's the Avais. That's the closest Avais you could have. Right? So Banim can't say Eidos on Avais of brothers who are fathers. So therefore, you learn out that you can't do the father and his brother and the other way around too. Banim Lim Solavis, Eidos Avais. Eidos Avais. And Banim Lim Solavis is the same thing for Eidos Avais. That Avais can't be made from Banim even if they're brothers. Children don't die in the Avera of their fathers. So except the pasuk says, "Paikid avon avis albanim." We just read this in Tainus. The Rebbeinu Shalom brings the Avera of the fathers on the children, where it says no. Hasam that's when they still go in the Maisas, they're following the Maisas of their forefathers, the Rishon. They'll get punished for their forefathers' Averas also. Tanya learned in the Brayso. Itami Maku. Also, at the Averis of their fathers, with them, they're going to get corrupt. And that pasuk is talking about when they go with the Averis of their fathers. Okay. Shkayach, we'll see you tomorrow. Oh, actually.